When you think of Martha Stewart, you might think of home decor, recipes, or holiday crafts. But what about insider trading? Jess and I both watched the new Martha Stewart documentary on Netflix. And first of all, I think we can all agree she's kind of a baddie, or at least she's portrayed that way. But even though she reportedly didn't care much for the documentary, I thought it was pretty cool. Learned a lot about her.
It's a vibe that I would love to embody. Yes, besides the insider trading. There was a lot about her I didn't know. She's definitely a perfectionist, which we both can relate to. But it was a surprise to me that she was a stockbroker and worked on Wall Street. She was also a model, but I had no idea that she was a stockbroker. She was also America's first female.
Right. I didn't know that either. I remember hearing about that trial, and I knew that she went to prison, but I had no idea why. I didn't really pay attention, I guess, and that she's a stockbroker. Yeah, until I watched it. So before we get into it, I want to read this quote on her prosecution where she's criticizing the handling of her 2004 trial, stating, "It was so horrifying to me that I had to go through that to be a trophy for these idiots in the U.S. Attorney's Office." I just love how blunt she is and how she doesn't hold back at all.
No, she does not. So what are you thinking?
I think we should definitely talk about insider trading. Like, what is insider trading, why it matters, because this is a topic that I myself am still not very clear on. And it seems really, really important to understand so we don't go to jail. And also what we can learn from Martha Stewart's case and the implications for everyday investors.
Oh, I like it. All right, let's break it down. What the big CEOs do. Good insider trading, bad insider trading. Let's do it.
You're listening to Market MakeHer, the self-directed investing education podcast that demystifies the world of investing and breaks down complex financial concepts from her perspective. That's us. We're her. No finance bros here.
We're here to help you get better with your finances. Get it? We're your hosts. I'm Jessica Inskip. I act as the teacher. I've been working in the self-directed investing space for 15 years and counting. I worked at Scottrade, Fidelity, and Merrill. I was licensed for 10 of those years and gave up my financial licenses because of the misinformation or lack of information on social media. Currently, you can find me on CNBC, Fox Business, Yahoo Finance, and the Schwab Network.
And I'm Jessie Denui. I selfishly convinced Jess to start this podcast with me so I can learn how this esoteric world of investing in the stock market works and to learn how to do that thing rich people do where you make your money make money. I know that I need to invest for future me, but I also want to do it ethically and sustainably. So Jess teaches all the financial literacy things and I ask all the questions to make sure we all understand why and how this knowledge applies to you. And also me, while keeping us all out of financial jargon land.
And together, we're on a mission to make you fin-fluent, not fin-fluenced. We categorize our content into 3 ways for you. We educate and explain, keep it current, and tell you how to apply it.
And today, I think we're keeping it current while educating and explaining, since we're talking about a current documentary as an example. So let's get into it, Jess. What exactly is insider trading?
All right. So insider trading is when you trade, so buy or sell a publicly traded company, so anything that's available on the market out there, like stocks, even bonds, based on what's called material, non-public information about the company. You can be an insider in a couple of different ways, and we should break that down in a moment. But basically, if you know something that isn't available on the internet for you to Google or a data provider, that's insider information.
So if you know a secret, a secret that nobody else knows,
you better keep it.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So it's any information that's like basically not publicly available, that you know, and you're making trades based off of that information that you know and probably shouldn't know or know ahead of everybody else before it's public.
Exactly. That's a big no-no. Remember, finance is regulated. So there's lots of paperwork involved as well to make sure that you're doing it right. And that's why there are 2 types of insider trading, legal and illegal.
Yeah, I did not realize there was legal insider trading, or maybe it's what you've been talking about on your TikToks recently. What's the difference between legal and illegal? I didn't know there was both.
So I think it's where we break down what's in the name, right? What is an insider? An insider, they could be a majority voting shareholder. That's 10% or more.
10% or more. You're a majority if you have 10%.
If you have 10%, you are there, but 1% is also a threshold. So when you open up a brokerage account and it asks you all those questions, and one of them is, are you a 1% or more shareholder of a publicly traded company? They're trying to see if they need to designate you as an insider.
Oh. I guess if you think about it, if a company is huge and has a huge market cap, 1% could be a lot of shares, right?
Yeah. And since everything is on supply and demand, if you own that much, it means you have the ability to really influence the market by things that you say and your trading activity, because you own 1%. If you were to sell it all at one time, you would tank that stock.
There's so many stocks you can own. And what if there's a smaller company that you happen to own a lot of shares of the stock? You're still considered insider, whether it's a small cap or large cap or whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you own a certain percentage of any publicly traded company, you have to designate that to your brokerage firm, and then they're going to label you as an insider.
That's right. Now, the legal insiders are usually in the C-suite, or people who started out and have a bunch of stock options from a smaller company that suddenly went public, because you get paid.
Right. If you joined a startup and that was part of your incentive to sign on, and now that place, it's a huge company now.
Exactly. Jeff Bezos is a great example. He's got what's called founder shares, and you could see them. You can go on the SEC EDGAR database. Very fun tool. You could literally type in your favorite big executive and see their plans to sell their insider shares, because they're a majority shareholder. Therefore, they're an insider. Therefore, they have to report their trades to the SEC. They have to file it, and that has to be public information for us to see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And there's something called a 10b5-1 plan, which is just an SEC plan rule. But what it does is it actually protects insiders from these type of allegations. Like Jeff Bezos can't even say the number, it's so large, of how many shares of Amazon he has and how much it's worth. It's huge. But he has a plan that he files with the SEC, and the purpose of it is to mitigate any type of allegations that would say it's insider trading, as in it is usually years in advance, and they say, I plan on selling this many shares throughout this time frame.
Yeah.
And you
did show us that on one of your TikToks. I remember now. Okay, so that's the EDGAR database you're talking about?
That's right. And that's legal insider trading. You should be able to understand that. We should know what executives are doing if they're selling it. Sometimes they have to enter a reason, and sometimes you could see, I'm buying a yacht. It's not necessarily for
conspiracy or whatever. They know something we don't know or whatever.
And we want them to get paid in stock, not money. Going to work for the shareholders, the biggest shareholder should be the person running the company. And also they should pay you in stock too. That's a good green flag for the company, in my opinion.
So that's what legal insider trading is. It's just someone labeled as an insider because they're a majority shareholder, like we said. And it's just them choosing just to sell a large portion of their stocks for whatever reason, or their securities for whatever reason. They have to label that reason, right? And it's public knowledge. If you're wondering, why is this person selling off all of these shares of the stock of this company? Should I be concerned? You can go look it up and figure out why.
You can. And normally there's links within your brokerage firm too. The good ones, anyways. Yeah, you could say SEC filings. You wouldn't know what that meant, or there might be insider transactions tab, and you could see a big percentage of buying versus selling. And there's lots of tools that.
Cool. Okay, good to look out for. Then what would illegal insider trading be?
Insiders could do this too. As in the legal insiders that are the executives, and so if they trade on non-public material information, and it gives them an unfair advantage to the public. That's why those 10b5-1 plans are very important, because it helps have something, because they're always going to know earnings for everyone else. So they have put those in place to prevent things like that. But in Martha Stewart's case, it was allegedly, and I know we're going to go into a little more detail, where she traded on something that no one else knew, that they weren't going to get an FDA approval. When I worked at Merrill, for example, there is a list of stocks that I wasn't allowed to trade at certain timeframes because my company was participating in an IPO process or underwriting certain things. It happened with Twitter. A lot of us weren't allowed to, when Twitter was publicly trade Twitter, because of the deal that Elon Musk was putting in. Merrill was a part of.
I did not know that.
So, and because Merrill is a huge, huge company, It's just a risk assessment. You may come across a document in your everyday that you have access to where you would know a little bit more about that. So therefore
I'm hoping they're pretty good at alerting all the employees. Like, what if you missed that email?
Oh. Well, your account's flagged. You get a review.
Okay.
If you're licensed, you're
right.
patient.
Well, I guess some regulations are good to protect you. And then, some are annoying, but it is what it is. Okay. If someone knows a secret and they are acting on that secret, yeah, that's the big difference.
That's right. Exactly. Yes, maybe the big difference. I give you an example with that, Meryl, but let's say someone was involved with that and I told you and then you traded on that, that would be bad.
Okay.
No bueno.
So material information is considered material if it could significantly affect an investor's decision to buy or sell security. So like a pending lawsuit, financial results, new product launches, that would be material information, right? These are elements of illegal insider trading. And then non-public information is information that hasn't been disclosed to the public through proper channels like press releases or SEC filings. And then a breach of fiduciary duty is another element, which is insider trading involved in a breach of trust or obligation to keep information confidential.
Have you ever heard the saying, blue horseshoe loves Anacott steel?
No.
So that is from this 1987 film called Wall Street, the original Wall Street. Anytime that he would have insider information, he would say, blue horseshoe loves, and then
I see. Another example of illegal insider trading could be like if a CEO tells a friend about a merger that hasn't been announced yet, and then the friend buys the stock based on that tip and profits after the announcement to the public. That's illegal insider trading. If you're getting a hot tip and it's not public knowledge, do not do it because you're going to go to jail if you get caught.
That's right. Got a secret. Got to keep it. We're going to keep saying that. Take this
and not react on it. not take any action on that secret until it's public knowledge. The consequences of insider trading for individuals, I've found out from the internet, are fines, imprisonment, like we talked about, and a damaged reputation, which is what happened to Martha. And then for the markets, it undermines trust in the fairness of financial markets, discouraging participation from the average investors, which I think is where the SEC comes in, right?
Yeah, and that's why it really matters, because finance is regulated, the most regulated industry, in my opinion. It's more regulated than healthcare because it involves money. But it's important for investors and individual investors to participate in the stock market. Is not the only way, but the most common way and the easiest way for your retirement. You need to participate in that system. And if that system is not a level playing field, then you're going to be discouraged to do that. That's the point of FINRA. Their motto, I'm going to butcher this, it's not exactly this, but it's literally to ensure free and financial markets for the everyday investor.
Yeah, it makes sense because, we want everyone to participate. And that's why I think it's good that you're talking about some of the misinformation on social media and like people who are getting a little too conspiracy theorist with things. And like, I'm sure that has its place in the world for sure. But with this sort of thing, like all you're going to do by saying like, oh, Jeff Bezos is doing this and they have this inside information. And that's just going to make people not want to. Yeah, it's fear mongering. And then people aren't going to want to invest. And like, if the average person doesn't invest, like, it's not that you have to do it like you said, but it is a way to help you with retirement. And if you don't want to work forever until you're dead, you can learn how to do it just like anybody else. And like we said, this information is public. We can all take part in this system that can help give us money later for future us. It's important to know and not be like deterred away from that for, no reason.
Yes. And you have to understand it. That girl actually blocked me, which I know is because you hear all my happy and sadness. But I felt like I had to explain because she was saying, oh, all of these people know something that we don't. And it was specifically Jeff Bezos selling his shares and some of Warren Buffett's. And I had to correct and say, hey, here is actually what this 10b5-1 plan looks like, and that it was actually predetermined years ago. But unfortunately, her video went incredibly viral, had millions of views. In the comments, people were like, I'm cashing out my entire 401k. Well, guess what? That was about a month ago, and the market just hit an all-time new high today. Hundreds of people said they were selling out of their entire portfolio. And that is what I mean by fear mongering. And that to me is such a big issue. Nerve.
I know.
Jesse.
And that's why we're here, because we want everyone to have all the information and like actually have this financial literacy and education. But like, it's important to make sure you know all of the facts and information when you're spreading content to millions of people like that. So that's kind of why we're doing this episode today.
You know what? To bring this back to the level playing field, that's why I think the whole I had to give up my financial licenses to be on social media means that some of the regulation just needs to be revisited now that we have this influx of social media. Because the way that we would have a level playing field is if there were more creators like me on social media that actually worked in finance. Whereas I feel like that person had great intent, but lacked the understanding. And that's not their fault.
We don't learn this stuff in school.
Let's talk about Martha.
Yes. If you don't know who Martha Stewart is, first of all, well, I guess I'm about to tell you, but I do recommend following her TikTok and Instagram for some hot octogenarian thirst traps and great everyday lifestyle tips and recipes. Because, like we said, she did turn her reputation around, and we're going to get into that. But yeah, good stuff. Anyway, Martha Stewart is a renowned American businesswoman, television personality, author, and lifestyle icon. She is best known for her influence in the fields of cooking, home decor, and entertaining, having built a vast media empire centered on domestic arts and DIY culture. And like Jess said, she was a model in her early life and started out as a model, later became a successful stockbroker in the 1960s before transitioning into catering and publishing. So she basically created this business empire, started the company Martha Stewart Living Omnimedia, which included television shows, magazines, books, and home products. She has a magazine, Martha Stewart Living, and syndicated TV show, which just basically cemented her as a household name across America and the world, I guess. But then she got into those legal troubles that we're discussing on this episode today in 2004, where she was convicted of obstruction of justice, conspiracy, and making false statements related to the sale of ImClone stocks or ImClone System stocks, which, by the way, was a biopharmaceutical company that developed and sold biological treatments for cancer. And they ended up getting acquired by Eli Lilly, I found out. Google search. She didn't end up getting convicted of insider trading, though, which we will get into. But she did serve 5 months in federal prison, a period she later referred to as a transformative experience because she made a huge comeback after that. Like it did hurt her reputation for a while, and that's something insider trading can definitely do. But yeah, she rebuilt her brand, regained her status as a trusted voice in lifestyle and homemaking, and expanded her audience through her comedic collaboration with rapper Snoop Dogg on Martha and Snoop's Potluck Dinner Party, which I do remember watching. I'm not sure if it still holds up. It's been a while since I watched that, but I remember it being hilarious. But yeah, so she made a huge cultural impact, being known for her attention to detail and high standards. And you could say she redefined domesticity, inspiring millions of people to embrace creativity and elegance in their everyday lives. Let's talk about her insider trading part of her story. So Martha Stewart went to prison, not specifically for insider trading, but for charges related to the action she took after being accused of insider trading. So let's talk about what exactly happened there.
Yes, I find her to be such an icon and incredibly inspiring. She challenged the status quo, had a vision, made it come to life, but also wanted to make it come to life for the everyday individual. And I think that is a beautiful thing. She took something bad, made something amazing out of it. Like my favorite person in the world, Phoenix rising from the ashes. I was going to try my best not to talk about Taylor Swift. Here we are.
So she did make a big impact. But yeah, she also got in trouble.
She did. Yeah. Things happen. It's how we react to them.
I guess we're not all perfect all the time.
Well, we're not. It's just you, Jesse. All right. So in December of 2001, Martha Stewart sold 3,928 shares of ImClone Systems the day before the FDA announced it had rejected ImClone's application of a new cancer drug. I think it's called Eberchucks. I don't know how to pronounce that, but we know that the market's forward-looking and it prices information as it comes into light. The fact that they weren't getting that FDA approval, that's what makes biotech stocks and medical stocks really soar. It's like, I got FDA approval for a cancer drug. People are going to buy that, right? So if they're not going to get that approval, or they were waiting on that, but the fact that it was rejected and her friend knew about it And she sold before that information crossed the newswire. She sold before the stock plummet.
It was her actual broker, right?
Yeah, she acted on a tip from her broker. Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's bad. That is
Yeah,
very,
her
very
broker, Peter Bakanovic, who informed her that Samuel Waxall, the CEO of ImClone at the time, was selling his shares because he knew the FDA rejection was imminent. And that would definitely qualify as insider trading, right? Or illegal insider trading, right? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's not public information. And Sam started it. He dragged Martha into it.
But wait, did the CEO of ImClone go to prison too?
Yeah, both her
Okay,
and
good.
the broker and the CEO.
Okay. Yeah, because there's definitely speculation out there that the SEC at the time was making an example out of her for being a celebrity and maybe even a woman, but she didn't go to prison for insider trading. So what was she actually accused of?
That's right. She wasn't convicted of insider trading. Instead, she was charged and convicted for actions related to the investigation. And also, side note, what put her into first female billionaire of America status was her taking her company public, which is amazing.
Yeah, she rang the bell.
Love that. Yes, yes, queen. But it was obstruction of justice. She was accused of trying to cover up the reason for her sale. She probably realized it because she was a stockbroker. And when you take those exams, it covers it. That's the reason for them. They could say you knew because we tested you on it. That included providing misleading statements to investigators.
Yeah, you can't lie to federal investigators.
That's right. This is when you have a secret.
Yeah.
You should keep it.
That's the difference. Unfortunately, she was convicted and had to do her time. So what was she actually convicted of?
So in 2004, she wasn't convicted of insider trading itself, but attempting to interfere with the investigation of the stock sale. So in 2004, she was convicted on 4 counts of obstruction, conspiracy, and making false statements. She's sentenced to 5 months in a federal prison, 5 months of home confinement, and 2 years of supervised release. And she was also fined $30,000, which is minuscule compared to Martha Stewart. But we do know when she was in prison, she helped those ladies. Like she even did that and wore the knitting shawl thing.
When she like got released, she like looked fabulous because she had this like shawl on, and it was like like a crocheted type of shawl one of the women in prison knitted for her, and then she helped sell those. Like when she got out, she like helped that woman. She
did. And that's such a good example where you could see her personality and just her positivity throughout anything that she does. And I think that's a great lesson. You find yourself in a terrible situation like prison. I mean, that's really bad, but an extreme. But anywhere where you say, oh man, this is just so bad. How can you make the best of this situation? I highly doubt she walked in there and said, I'm going to meet somebody who crochets and I'm going to help.
Well, she taught like business 101 to these women in there. She kind of figured some things out, and then ends up teaching like business classes to the women in there and turning it around. I've actually thought about that a few times, and I'm just like, okay, what would Martha do in this situation?
Yeah.
What would that baddie do?
Oh, I love that.
How do I turn this around? Okay. Why did some people think she was just being made an example of in this case? I mean, other than obviously that she was a high profile celebrity. And I mean, we know she was a shrewd businesswoman in the documentary with a squeaky clean, quote unquote, public image. Why do people think she was being made an example of?
Well, yeah, she was this cultural icon with capital letters icon. And on one hand, prosecuting her brought significant media attention to the SEC. They had these efforts to crack down on market misconduct. So some think that the authorities pursued her aggressively to demonstrate that no one, not even the wealthy and powerful, a wealthy and powerful celebrity like Martha, was above the law. And that punishment was a bit harsh because she wasn't actually convicted of insider trading. And not to mention, there were comparisons drawn to cases where corporate executives or financiers engaged in larger financial misconduct but received lighter sentences.
So this is speculation, of course, but you can feel it at that time. People thought they were trying to just bring this like strong, powerful woman down because she was a strong, powerful, baddie businesswoman, like with an empire. And they were like not just making an example out of her for that, but just because she was a woman and like not everyone liked her and how she acted and how blunt she was and direct. And she was very critical and was a perfectionist. So like not everyone, that worked for her. Not a lot of these men out there were a fan of her. So that was like kind of, there was a gender element involved too at the time, I think. But, you know, she was definitely an example. You know, I mean, people heard about that case and know about it, and now it's in the documentary.
Yeah, and let's not forget, she lied to
Yeah.
federal investigators, which is a serious crime. So if you have a secret, keep it.
Just don't lie to federal investigators.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, this is an important case to look at because it was so high profile. So Martha's case became a cautionary tale about the consequences of lying to investigators. Even if the original act, insider trading, wasn't proven in court. But in the documentary, it appears as if she was like really innocent and not thinking anything of that call she received from her stockbroker, like seemed totally normal and okay. But because she was a former stockbroker herself, it didn't look that way. And she obviously tried to cover it up after the fact, which is never a good idea. She should have just come clean and been like, even if she was innocent, was like, look, I was on a plane, whatever. I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, yeah, sure. She trusted him, do it. But the fact is, she tried to cover it up after because she probably realized like, oh crap, I screwed up. Whatever the situation was. She obviously realized that she messed up. Then she tried to go back and cover it up, but with federal investigators, even a small lie like that's, you know, you can't do that. You can't do that obstruction of justice thing. So,
No, you just shouldn't lie. Lying
Yeah.
is so bad. That's like the worst thing you could do to me is if
Yeah.
anyone lies to me. I cannot stand it.
and her reputation was significantly impacted by this, but she was actually able to turn it around and rebuild her brand and career. And after doing that Justin Bieber roast, which is what I remember, she made a huge comeback. She was hilarious in that roast. She was like the best one.
Oh, she was.
But she made a huge comeback, and you know, she was sitting next to Snoop Dogg and became friends with him. So good for her, you know? I mean, hence that baddie comment in the intro. She really turned it around. And like I said, now you can see her like hot thirst traps on TikTok and things of her in the pool. And I'm like, yes, get it. She's great.
Queen.
Yeah, she's a
Icon.
queen.
Legend.
So let's like bring this back to how it relates to all of us, the average investor. How can us self-directed investors avoid legal trouble in general when investing? And we shall state for the record that this is not legal advice. Seek legal advice if you ever think you need it. And this is obviously not financial advice either. You can go to a financial advisor for something like that. This is educational.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you have a secret, you got to keep it, but never lie. That's the thing for today. But essentially, if you know that no one else knows this information, you're going to know if it's not public information and it's material and it's a public company. Don't go act on it. That's not smart because it's unfair to everyone else. And you might think to yourself, oh, this is unfair to the man. It's also unfair to everyday investors.
Yeah, for sure.
Good. Not allowed. And I imagine if you're in a place where you have that type of information, you probably have a lot of money or work around people with a lot of money. So, you know, be careful in those type of situations. Definitely be careful, but also understand what insiders are, understand how to go through EDGAR, or if you see those posts, hopefully that's really the goal of today. If you see those posts where you see, oh my gosh, all these insiders are trading or they're going to cash or there's this rebalancing happen. Oh, let's freak out. You say, hold on. I bet I could go into this EDGAR database and see that there's probably a plan for the past 3 years to sell all this stock. Or this is the CEO. He gets paid in stock. You just take a step back and don't be finfluenced. Be finfluenced.
Don't be reactionary on something you saw on social media. We give you the tools and the resources to understand how to go look up all this information for yourself. And you know, before you make a huge decision like liquidating your whole retirement portfolio or something like that, take a step back and go through the resources that we've showed you. We link them all in the show notes. We have them on our website usually. So, and you can always ask us for a resource that's reliable or trustworthy, and where to find the information, and we can show you. But yeah, don't be emotional, investor, and don't be fear-mongered into doing something irrational with your money because of a TikTok.
That's right.
And we're going to link some government regulatory websites, educational platforms in the show notes and on the website so that you can go to, you know, whether it's the SEC, there's insider trading FAQ section, there's like FINRA, investor.gov, like there's all kinds of resources where you can look up to see what counts as insider trading and what these insiders are doing. Well, I think we can say Martha Stewart remains a symbol of resilience and reinvention. Her journey from a domestic lifestyle expert to a business mogul who overcame scandal showcases her ability to adapt and thrive. And you know what? I think she might be a perfectionist, control freak, but it seems to be working for her. So maybe we shouldn't be so hard on ourselves, Jess, for the way we've learned to, and not just you and I, but like, you know, I have a lot of friends that are perfectionists, you know, and, you know, it's the ways we have learned to adapt, succeed, and overcome adversity in this world, frankly. So yeah, I think it's okay.
My goals were to accept 80%.
I like your 80% rule. 80% is still close enough to perfect.
Somebody told me that my minimum effort is someone else's maximum. And it was actually an old manager, Patrick Higgins, if you're listening. And then that really spoke volumes to me. Nonetheless, we can give career advice one day if anybody wants it. Let us know in the comments. But we show up for you. The best way you can show up for us is by leaving us a review or a 5-star rating, preferably both, or even donate through any of our donate links if you are able. It helps us continue to spread free financial literacy.
Yes, we really appreciate all of you for being here. And feel free to always ask your questions, submit your questions, however you want to reach out to us. And remember, when you build knowledge,
you break barriers.
Remember, investing involves risk. There is always potential to lose money when investing in securities. Market MakeHer provides educational content and resources for informational purposes only. We are not registered financial advisors and do not provide personalized investment advice. Any information provided by Market MakeHer on our website or podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional financial advice. Market MakeHer is not liable for any investment decisions made based on our content.